Well, hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 372. ZiaLLM knows what you did last resume, recorded for Friday, September 12th, 2025. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Tyler Colt.
I'm Greg Belnap, and let's get right on into the show.
Let us do it. That title, bit of a stretch, but I still like it. To just put the word resume in there. Maybe went right over my head and I didn't get the joke, but I will say whatever's on the screen. I just do what Freddie tells me.
Well, I love a good horror movie reference. So because I was did last summer, especially considering that our AV guy is Freddie. So
Yep, true.
That also
fair
makes
enough. Okay, full circle.
He would be sending us
full circle.
But think of it. I've never seen Freddie in person, so for all I know, he is just a dream man.
We don't know that Freddie isn't an AI, right? Yeah. He uses so many AI tools so effectively to produce the show really quickly every week, and I'm not certain that he's not an AI. You can't prove a negative, so I guess we're just going to have to live with that uncertainty hanging over us. With that, we do have a pretty quick news week this week, so we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, us.
Is your Zoho CRM clean and healthy? The Zenatta Health Check for Zoho CRM finds inactive users, checks for duplicates, and flags missing key data, all in real time or in a monthly email. Zenatta Health Check for Zoho CRM. Healthy data, better business. Get it today on the Zoho Marketplace.
Our ads are getting shorter and shorter. We actually stopped running them for a few weeks in the past. We got a comment maybe two months back or something. Someone was like, that was a long ad. And I went and watched it back and it's like, yeah, those ads were kind of long. We probably shouldn't run a minute and a half long ad at the beginning of the show. We do love that plugin. Yep. That's a plugin we made, just kind of helps you keep an eye on what's going on in your CRM. You have any data quality issues. So check it out if it seems interesting. But with that, let's jump right on into the news. So September 2025 updates here from Zoho Books. They kind of bury the lead on this one. There's a couple more technical ones up at the top. You've got Ameritax integration for UAE and US. Self-employment summary report for the UK edition. Really useful for one-person companies. Basically, my understanding is this just preps you for your taxes really quickly and easily. Pay now supported via Stripe, so good for Singapore. Now into kind of the more universal updates, journal credits to invoices and bills in other locations. Just kind of a minor one. If you do need to make any journal adjustments and you have a multi-location business, you can now kind of more tightly control where those are going to apply. Some new inventory reports around adjustments. So an inventory adjustment summary and then a detailed adjustment report. These honestly are especially really nice as you are like setting up books and inventory for the first time. You're oftentimes going to have to do an adjustment at some point, and then being able to see all of that broken out is super useful. And then here, the big one, in my opinion, in the world of inventory as it applies to Zoho Books, workflow automation finally supported for packages and shipments. Thank goodness. Now, you could technically do this before using a flow, right? You could kind of always trigger these inside a Zoho flow, but you might not have flow. You might not want to use flow because all the rest of your automation is already inside of books and inventory. So I'm really excited for this one. I just like less places that I have to put my automations. I could just go to books and all my books automations are in books. I like that. I'm a simple man. That makes me happy. So I am pretty happy to see this one.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that what we had in Flow is it was a polling trigger. So it would check for a change or an update every 5 minutes. Whereas this would, and I assume, end up being real time. So that's the other benefit of this one. Yeah, for the longest time, we've been waiting for automations based on packages and shipments. So very, very happy to see them here.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big things around this is obviously like customer notifications, especially around shipments, right? Like at any time I buy something from a company, when it gets shipped, they say it's been shipped and they email that to me, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's on its way. One kind of connected thing to that is you can now also skip carrier email notifications for shipments. So if you're using the built-in carrier integrations, the reason you might want to do this is because you can now do this, right? So maybe you want to send your own email notification, right? Like there are brands where they email it to me, and then there are brands where I get an email from USPS, right? That something's been shipped, or UPS. And what I've seen on a lot of the bigger brands that have like a better customer experience is that the email comes from them. It's kind of like that consolidated, like, oh, what got shipped to me? This brand that I just bought something from. It's not like a FedEx package is headed my way and then I got to figure out what the heck that is. So really do like that. Down below, pick list summary reports and pick list details reports. So pick lists, of course, are like giving you the ability to say, pick 3 sales orders, make me a list of everything I need to go grab or pick from various warehouse bins to be able to package those orders. So you can now see reports of that. I don't know exactly when I would use this in particular. A pick list is kind of like it's a utility record, but it doesn't really, you don't generally pull reports on pick lists. Maybe you would if you wanted to see like, are they being done efficiently? What types of bins are being picked together? Maybe is what I would think about here, but why not? And then a couple enhancements for packages, shipments, and pick lists. So you can now add the e-way bill number. Pretty sure this is useful in India. You can have custom buttons, custom links, and related lists on packages, shipments, and pick lists. Again, Zoho, you're kind of burying some really useful info. Like I would take this,
why are these at the bottom of this
whole category? Like this is really useful, right? Like you got a package, maybe you want to add a custom convert to shipment button that does these 10 different things and makes the shipment in one step. Like very useful. You can now also create custom fields with lookups and attachments for those modules, layouts of the custom PDF templates, really good for like packing slips, right? That's a really common use case. And you've always just had to like use the default one, right? Now you can go in and customize those the same way. And then these actually are minor changes, dimensions and weights inside of the item list view, email templates for vendor payments. Really, they just want to know they got paid. In transit status for purchase orders. That's actually kind of a nice one. If a receive is pending, you can kind of see like, hey, this is on its way. And honestly, this could be really nice for analytics and scripting. A lot of the times what you have to do to know if there's an in-progress receive for a purchase order is actually check all the related receives and see if one exists. If this could just be like a top-level status, then like my code just got simpler, right? Like I don't have to go and look at those and see that. So a sneaky one, but for the nerds in the room, like I'm actually really happy about that. I have a client request actually right now that this would be useful for. So selfishly, that just makes me happy. Overall, nice suite of updates here from books and inventory.
Yeah, especially I like the being able to add lookup fields to the packages and shipments. I can't think of anything right now, but it's just always nice to be able to set up information relationally via a lookup rather than I know that like I've had to copy and paste data from one record onto a custom field in a package or a shipment. So being able to do it via lookup, a lot better.
Sweet. All right, so with that, let's jump into a bit of a double header here from Recruit. We've got 2 updates there. They're adding just a whole bunch of AI features to Zoho Recruit, probably to the global world of candidates' chagrin. I don't think anyone really likes thinking about their resume being graded by an AI, but nonetheless, here they are. A lot of these are kind of summary tools, but there are a bit more under the hood. So AI-generated assessments, so assessments for candidates, interviewers, and recruiters. You can kind of give it some prompts about what you're looking to assess on, and then it can actually, generate one for you. Again, make sure to check these, of course. Make sure that they really fit what you're looking for. Like, I'm thinking for us, Greg, in our application cycle, there's quite a lot of questions about Deluge, and AI tools famously are terrible at writing Deluge. You ask it for something in JavaScript, it's perfect. You ask for that same thing in Deluge, it's nonsense. So just know that, like, depending on how specific your domain knowledge needs to be, that would kind of correlate strongly to how much you can rely on this, right? If it's a pretty standard thing, like you want to write up like a bookkeeping exam, probably going to do a decent job. You want to do like a really specific applied role, like make sure to just validate those questions as you go. Looks like, Greg, you can do either Zia or OpenAI to set these up. Zia, of course, has the benefit of being free, and it's all kind of just baked in. I think a lot of people are going to probably try Zia first. That's kind of always how I've been reading this. It's nice to have the OpenAI option, but I'm, at least the way I've done it so far, is I'll always give Zia a try for a certain use case and see if it works well for me.
Yeah, and especially with your example for us, I bet Zia is going to be, I would hope, better at Deluge than OpenAI is.
God willing, it is.
But yeah,
so really
cool. And like you were saying earlier, Tyler, to help the various candidates of the world feel a little bit better. These are mostly around helping reduce the amount of work that recruiters have to do in between actually assessing candidates, so that they do have more time to actually honestly assess you, which I hope is the trend that people will continue to follow. Of course, it's a different ballgame if you're talking just volume wise. If you've got one person in charge of hiring and you have 2,000 records to go through, as much as I'm sure that person would like to give all 2,000 records their moment to prove themselves, you just can't, and you gotta do something to pare that down a little bit.
It's tough, actually, even for us, because we're generally almost always hiring, and but we'll take down a job opening if we don't need it, and then kind of repost it once we're looking for candidates again. And I do have to say, like, you always kind of hear about this arms race in the recruiting world. It's like the candidates are using AI tools to write resumes, fill out applications, and even like scrape and apply for jobs. Like, I've seen tools that are, agent applications where you could pay $20 a month, give it some parameters, and it will just apply for everything that it sees that fits in any particular way. And by the way, I don't blame anybody. If I was looking for a job right now too, I'd use every single tool available to me to get a job, right? Like, I don't blame anybody for doing that. But then to your point, on the flip side, it means like back in the day when we would put out a job opening, and part of it might be we're a little more visible, but I'm even thinking like early 2023, we were pretty darn visible in early 2023. The volume of applications that we get immediately on every job post is different. It is meaningfully different than what it used to be like. And so, it's a tough thing, because to your point, right? Like, we're not a huge team, and the team amongst us that does the hiring is even smaller. And, you get, what was it for our bookkeeper application, like 500 or so applicants within a couple days.
He is easily over 600.
Yeah. And it's like, it's tough. What do you do? What do you do? Maybe AI helps with that in the long term. I do just have my concerns about, like, what is it summarizing when it summarizes? Does it know what's important? And I think the V2 of a lot of these AI tools, where I can set more of a knowledge base and a prompt environment to define what I'm looking for on a resume, right? Like, that, I think, will make it much more useful.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this has been a thing in the recruiting sector for a long time, even before like AI, reading summaries, things like that. Because there's already been, like resume, parsing
like
tools or whatever that companies, OCR that companies have been using, which has had definitely its share of problems and possible, discriminatory accidents.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
No, it's the arms race ramping up, because the whole thing back, the pre-AI game was making sure your resume was OCR legible, right? So like resumes actually, they like peaked in how designed you wanted them in like 2018, 2019. And then once OCR came out and got really popular, you actually wanted a simpler resume, right? Because the goal of the resume was to get you through the OCR to get an interview. And then your resume is just like some stuff and the design doesn't really matter at that point. So it's interesting how the game is played and the rules are always changing. Next up here, also in the world of Zoho Recruit, I did mention it was a double header. We now have the ability to set up notifications inside of the vendor portal. So essentially, imagine you're a recruiter. You've got multiple different vendors that you need to hire a bunch of people for. You might not want to manually have to keep them in the loop, right? As things are changing, as candidates are moving through the process. So what you can essentially do now is say, hey, for those vendors that access my portal, I just want to email notify them automatically if a job is shared or edited, if I've got new notes that I want to share, or if a candidate status happens to get updated. I would imagine candidate status updates, like hopefully you could do this on a certain status option. Like I don't know that they would want to know about every update, right? It's like maybe once they get to stage 5 or something. These can all be enabled and disabled though. So if there are certain ones that you don't want, like a job edit, right? You're like, hey, I'm just making a minor update to the job description. I don't need them to get pinged every time I do that. You can disable them, but really nice for those recruiting agencies. We actually have a lot of clients who kind of fit into that staffing and recruiting world. And the way that like CRM and recruit tie together, where it's like I win a deal, I auto launch a job opening for that particular client, right? Like it's a nice system. Of course, you're going to need some Deluge, and oftentimes people want to kind of build on top of that integration. But it is a really good baseline for people that are in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is particularly useful. I'm sure this is something they've seen as, kind of just more people are using Recruit and larger organizations are using Recruit. This is particularly useful if you've just got a really high volume of activity, because you have like there are already email notifications, things like that. But if you don't want to have your vendors be getting 47 email notifications from you on an hourly basis, that's just that's nuts. So if you have like a lot of activity pretty constantly, then this is a great way to kind of consolidate it down. And the fact that it's real time, right? So you might have a relationship where your vendor just always has their recruit portal window open, just waiting for something to come in.
Yep, exactly. So really nice update there. I think for those who are in that recruiting space, I think they'll be really happy with this. Next one up here, an application we don't talk about too much nowadays, honestly. It seems like, a lot of effort went into this back in the day. Of course, I'm talking here about Backstage. Honestly, we might not hear a lot about this anymore because it's pretty much a finished product. This is one of those ones that Zoho built and really invested in back in COVID because they run events and they needed to run their events remotely. And those who interact with Zoho a lot, you'll know, they do eat their own dog food, right? They want to use Backstage to run Zoholics, right? You're not going to sign up via Eventbrite, so they really do use all their own stuff to run their own business. And so, over the last couple of years, it's gotten just pretty darn solid. I mean, it just does most of the things you need. This is what's new for August 2025, put out 2 days ago. So we're a little behind schedule, but we're going to round down, flashback to August. So updates to session registration, or actually new feature for session registration. This is essentially if you have an event and you have many sessions like they do at Zoholics, you can now offer the ability for people to register for those specifically. So an attendee can kind of sign up for a session. This does also allow you to set a maximum number of attendees and even monetize those. So if there are certain workshops that you want to be paid, it's like, hey, you get into the event for free. You can do most of it for free. These couple workshops over here, you got to chip us some money on, right? If you want to go to those ones, you can now kind of split things out that way. So really nice across the board, I'd imagine. Again, Zoho, actually, for most of their stuff, they actually had some paid workshops at Zoholics. So they actually probably used this to do that. There were some that were kind of exclusive. Next one up, ticket grouping. And I love this because tickets deserve a family treat too. It just warms your heart, doesn't it, Greg? So it's the little things that get me through the day. So this is kind of like an organizational tool more than anything else, is kind of the way that I see it. So basically, you'll create different classes of tickets and then can have multiple types within those. So here they're showing like, hey, you've got this baseline student, you've got 2 premium tickets, which are gold and diamond, and then you've got a couple basic tickets. Now, I don't really know as I looked at this, like what this would do on the back end. Like, I think you're probably still going to set all the permissions and the inclusions at the ticket level. This is a way to group them and then actually show them differently on the checkout page. So you can kind of have these tabs of like premium, basic, and other. It doesn't seem like this does much of a back end thing. It's not like, oh, because it's in premium, it gets these permissions. It's like, you're going to do that in the ticket. This is like an organizational tool for you and to display to the client when they book it. You think I'm reading that correctly?
As far as I can tell, it's what it looks like. Yeah, it's just for kind of easier visualization on the user checkout end, like you said.
Got it. And then, this is a long article. I just checked my scroll wheel over there on the right. We're like halfway down. Let's kick it up a notch, Greg. So assign primary contacts for custom forms. This is basically just like an owner of that form. So not a client contact, but a you contact. This is really nice for setting default notifications. So if you want someone to be notified when those forms are submitted. Now, some enhancements, so not feature additions, but just kind of, re-envisionings here. New page for order management. So essentially, rather than just like a list of purchases, I've actually bumped into this page before, like 18 months ago, and I was actually annoyed that I couldn't go in and do stuff with the orders from here. Like, I remember I was like, what do you mean I can't do it from here? And so now you can. So that's nice. Why not? Essentially just that ability to make edits, resend an email, cancel or refund, right? So like order management, not order viewing, I think is kind of the main component there. New exhibitor categories. So, for those who are going to come and, present, you've got your common categories here. You've got startup, stop up, Wayne, and daily. Those are the big 4.
Good old Wayne.
Those are the big 4 categories that we'll put our exhibitors into. This is kind of nice because it actually lets you functionally change the benefits and, components. So like, hey, if they're a stop-up vendor, they're going to get 2 collaterals. If they're a startup, they're not. If they're a Wayne, they don't. So again, just getting into the nitty-gritty on what they'll be allowed to do. Withdrawal flow for registration. So if somebody wants to not withdraw or not attend, they can withdraw. So that's pretty nice. I would assume this then kind of dovetails into like potentially a refund process if you offer those. And then on a technical level, transaction IDs can now be viewed more easily when payments are being made offline. So again, just a minor nice thing. Down at the bottom, just some UI updates, some new themes, new UI for Marketing Plus, and a handful of other minor changes. So busy month for Backstage. I don't know if they just kind of like backlogged these and now they're going to push them all at once, or if they actually did all this in August. It feels like probably the former, but nice suite of updates.
I think that's why we're reading this in September.
Yeah, probably.
It took them 2 weeks just to put the article together.
Yep. And I always do like to say with Backstage, one advantage it might have for you is the billing model. So when you're on Zoho 1, you get 1 premium event per year, and then you can pay for additional events. They are not cheap. I don't remember exactly what they cost off the top of my head, but they are not cheap. But they don't charge you fees on ticket sales. So you can actually end up in a scenario, and you'd want to do this math for yourself on the Eventbrite versus Backstage, your expected attendance and your ticket prices. But like if you're getting a lot of people for a paid event, you might be able to save a lot of money doing it on Backstage versus Eventbrite. So just something to consider. If you do a huge amount of small events, Eventbrite's probably going to be a better deal. Again, it's all just margin math. If it's small events that are super high ticket price, okay, maybe now back to Backstage. And so you'll just want to figure out that for yourself based on your specific event requirements. But we've had some clients that have saved a lot of money by using Backstage. So it is worth consideration.
Or you can be like
All
me,
right,
who runs a lot of small events, and I just built my own creator app to do everything instead.
Yeah, you just built your own creator app. For those who don't know Greg as well, he's not always been on the show. Greg runs an actual improv troupe. That's what we call it, right? A troupe in his hometown, and runs everything out of a creator app that he built. It's very cool. The nerdiness doesn't stop when Greg clocks out for the day. It just keeps going. So gotta love that. Last one here, social wall. We like the social wall here at Zenatta. This is the Zoho social. It's almost like a newsletter, but they just post it here instead of emailing it out. So this just rolls up all of their enhancements. Some of these we covered, but I'll go through them quickly here. More options and functionality on what's called the Monitor tab. Monitor tab basically just shows any type of interaction that somebody has had with you. Now you can manage your blue sky from here. You can also see where you've been tagged on Instagram. So just, again, some minor tweaks there. Blue sky seems to be getting more popular. I did look at the usage statistics. It's still quite a ways below Twitter, but it is growing. So be interested to see how that tracks. One thing that I saw that actually is kind of crazy is Threads. Remember Threads? Remember when Meta put out Threads and everyone used it for like 2 weeks and everyone stopped using it? Fun fact, they didn't. They stopped in the U.S. In South America and other non-U.S. countries. It actually retained quite a lot of popularity. So now the question is, and this is what Meta probably wouldn't share, is does a daily active user count an Instagram login because it's all one consolidated login environment? That would be the devil in the details, but the data that they share seems to indicate that it is thriving. You now also publish Instagram stories from your creator account, so that's kind of nice. And then alt text for images in Instagram. So kind of a small wall, just a half wall, if you will, a retainer wall, just holding back a slope, but nice nonetheless.
Yeah, this is just another brick in the wall.
Very nice. Very nice. So with that, let us jump over to Club Zenatta and check out our code share of the week. Alrighty, so this is Eddie, kind of just giving a quick tip, right? Again, some of these are really long and crazy and complicated and are hashing coding multi-parameter strings into edit checks. And some of them are just nice little tips like this. So this is just a clean way to write a condition, an inline condition inside of Zoho Deluge. So Greg, you want to walk us through what we're looking at here?
Yeah, basically, and this comes down to just kind of what your preferences are. This is showing how you can have, an if-else statement, right? Where you have your if, parentheses for your condition, and then some curl brackets with, whatever your resulting code is. Then you can have an else with another set of curl brackets. If what you're doing is just effectively like a one-line check, sometimes that if-else can feel a little bulkier than it might need it to be. So Eddie is just showing off that there is a way to write a simple if-else statement in a single line. And that's using just this if kind of function where your first argument is your condition. Your second argument is what will occur if that's true. And then your third argument is what will occur if that is evaluated as false. So
got it.
Like the one that he's written out here, if amount is not null, do amount times 1.16, otherwise return 0. So
got it.
Again, it just kind of depends on your preferences. Obviously, if you have like a more complicated condition or a lot more like decision making that's happening, like if your thing is going to be like, if these conditions are met, I need to map an invoice and generate an invoke URL or whatever. Don't do that in line, because that would look insane. But for a simple, like, just kind of this or that type of quick little one, an inline one can just save you a little bit of space and just make it a little bit cleaner looking.
Nice. Um, yeah, good one here. Little tip while we're looking at it, just for fledgling Deluge coders. And this script would satisfy this tip here. Just as a fun fact, if amount is null and I try to multiply it by 1.16, my function will fail. You cannot do math on null values, so make sure you're always checking those. You could do a little if null, you could do a little thing like this, but just, keep it in mind that these will totally break if it is a null value. It's same thing if you try to do like a concat with a null value included, or a substring on an empty. It's like, dude, I don't know what you're trying to tell me to do, so I'm just going to stop. Is essentially what Deluge will say back.
Also, the one other with this particular example here for our YouTube viewers, this one you also probably would want to add like a amount dot to decimal or amount dot to long, because if wherever you're pulling amount from, if it happens to be like a string and it ends up just being like, I don't know, if it ends up having like a dollar symbol or something, like, see,
that's what happens.
And it's going to be like, I can't do math. These are words. It's like, no, it's not words. It's like, it's a dollar symbol and then a decimal, but David was just like, no, this is a string.
Nope, won't do it.
This is the alphabet as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and for anyone out there who runs a form company, if any Ninja form execs, Gravity form execs are out here, stop including dollar signs with your currency values via API. Just don't do it. Why do you do it? Just stop. Stop it.
Or at least give two versions of it.
Yeah, do two of them. That's fine. I can live with it. But just stop. Just don't. With that, before I rant any longer, let's jump over to Zenatta.com and check out what's new on the website. All right, something sexy and exciting here. Supported payment processors in Zoho Books with pros and cons. I know, everybody's been waiting on this. Yeah, exactly. A good one to send us here into the weekend. Obviously, I'm being a bit facetious, but I'm kind of not, because these do have a big effect, right? They're going to essentially touch every transaction that comes through your platform. So picking the right one does really matter. We actually use Stripe internally, in large part because it does a good job with credit cards, and it offers a baked-in ACH that's really easy for customers to use. One of the big things with credit cards at the end of the day is the rates that they charge and how they charge their rates, right? So somebody like Stripe charges a flat 2.9%. Doesn't matter if it's Visa, doesn't matter if it's Amex. Something like Authorize.net basically passes along the rate that the credit card charges to you. So question number one, as you're starting to evaluate these, what % of your clients use Amex? That's pretty much going to answer your question. If it's the vast majority, pick a fixed rate operator like Stripe. If almost everyone's using Visa and charging you 2.3%, grab Authorize.net, right? Save yourself that 0.6. Depending on the size of your business, it can actually save you quite a lot of money. The one I would call out a bit here, PayPal has an option for Zoho Books, and you can actually run credit cards through it. We were considering switching over because they actually reached out to us. They're going to offer us a better rate than Stripe was, but there were so many pop-ups trying to get the customer to make a PayPal account that we just stuck with Stripe. We just didn't want to make it a pain in the butt just to save the 0.2%. It's like, didn't feel worth it. So whichever one of them, look at the rates, but then turn it on and test it and make sure you like it. For us, the ease of use of Stripe was worth the extra little bit of money. Zoho Payments is also kind of an interesting one here just because it is all baked in. Interestingly, they originally were doing 2.7 for non-Amex and 2.9 for Amex. And they changed their mind. And I was a little sad because honestly, we might have even used payments for that. But they did just normalize it to that flat 2.9%. I don't blame them. You don't want to just lose money on transactions. But nonetheless, well worth taking a look at as you're kind of making these decisions. It's all about that rate math, and it really all comes down to Amex and the amount of ACH that you get. Good write-up there from the team. Next one here, case study. We love case studies. We've actually got a bunch of these that we're going to be putting out here over the next couple months. This is from SKMac, professional services organization. A lot of automation for these guys. So client scripts on quotes and orders. Remember that. We're going to come back to that later in the Azaz section. pricing validation, sales order process, and a bunch of workflow automations. We've been working with Tim over at SKMac for quite a while now. Great customer, and we always appreciate a shout out via our case studies. So make sure to check those out.
Yep. And we love being able to take people into the cloud from an on-premise solution. It's just so much better to be able to access data wherever you're at. And not
the whole VPN into some device running in the basement scenario is not the best user experience. So definitely a bit happier with this. As always, I do want to highlight over on the website on this case studies tab, which is in the header bar now. I didn't know that we put that there. We put all of our case studies here, and I am scrolling, and I am scrolling, and I am scrolling. Wow, we have a lot of those, don't we, Greg? Oh, there's a page too. So if you're ever interested, we try to write up, obviously with our client's consent, some of the high-level details about each of these builds. So if you're looking for some help with Zoho, good place to start. See if we've done something similar to what you need. And, we'd love to chat. Got this beautiful green button up here in the top right called Book a Meeting, and I love when people click it. So anytime you want to click this button, feel free. You have my full consent to do so. With that, let's jump over to youtube.com/Zenatta and check out our tips of the week. Alrighty. So tip number 1 is from Maya on the team. She's on our kind of discovery and sales team. So as she was like scoping out helping a prospective client figure out what type of licensing was going to make sense, what apps they might need, she ran into some questions about team users. This is a new type of user that exists inside of CRM for everyone. Now, my understanding is I don't think you can use these if you're on Zoho 1, because their assumption is this would be a W-2'd employee, right? That you'd probably need to, get a full license for. But if you do have standalone accounts or maybe CRM Plus, again, I'm not certain how this interacts with CRM Plus, you can add these team users. Let me see if I can nail that freeze frame again. There we go. She does a good job here breaking down what they can and cannot do. So they don't own records, they don't access dashboards, they don't have like configuration functionality. But if they need to just get in there and do some basic stuff, like leave a note, submit a record, right, things like that, you could definitely save some money and consider using these. They do have quite a lot of that like normal functionality. Now, they do only interact, my understanding is, with team modules. So you do need to set things up really intentionally from like a module basis to make sure that the types of things that a team user needs to interact with are in a team module itself. But in that case, again, if it works for you and for what they need to do, you do save quite a lot of money. I think they're like $9 per user per month or something like that, rather than the full CRM pricing. So definitely some money to be saved if you're able to use them. Yeah, $9. I got it. I remembered something, Greg. I get my bonus points here for this week. So yeah, $9. So pretty nice. Well worth considering if you're a CRM user.
Yeah, so it is particularly useful if you work with a lot of like contractors. It's almost like a team user is like a beefier version of like a vendor portal user kind of a thing is kind of where my mind goes. For example, we've got the one and only Freddie working on our beautiful CRM Zen Show here and, editing all the YouTube videos that we put on our channel. So obviously, he's our actual employee, so that's all good. But if Freddie was not, if Freddie was an independent freelance editor, whatever, and we wanted to give him, access to our, if we were using the CRM to like log and track all of our like content, our planned content, and then like uploading like the raw video files and things like that, having Freddie as a team user would probably make sense, where it's like he would have no reason that he would need to go into, the deals modules and, all that kind of stuff, but to access, maybe these custom modules that we have. But don't worry, Freddie, you're still on the team. You're staying right in here with us. We're not letting you go anywhere.
Oh, I was getting worried there for a second.
Yeah, we're converting you to 1099. Then but yeah, is really nice. Can definitely save money. Or I'm even thinking like maybe you're an accounting firm and you run a lot of your stuff out of Zoho CRM, and you've got a team of bookkeepers who like once a month need to go into CRM and submit a bookkeeping report or a bookkeeping record. Right? Here's all the outcomes. Here's how long it took me. Click submit, and then I'm on to the next one. Like they might just not need a full license to do that. So yeah, really nice. Great call by Maya. She honestly found this, was like, I bet a lot of people don't know that this exists, so I'm gonna make a video on it. And that's honestly how we get a lot of our video ideas. Just trying to cover things that aren't super obvious. Next one, Greg, this is you kind of doing a quick run through of the new health check plugin. You want to take us through it real quick?
Yeah. For anyone that's been using our CRM health check before, all of the core functionality is still tried and true in there, counting your user licenses, checking how many accounts are, missing information, or, contacts that might not have an email, that kind of stuff. The major update that we've done is that this used to be just a scheduled report or like a mail merge document. But now we've actually created it as its own web tab that when you open and load the web tab, it runs all of those calculations in real time for you. So you get to see all of the data up to the minute, which is really nice. And you just get to go in there and look at it whenever you want. There is still that button on the modules if you wanted to email a copy of that report to yourself. So if you wanted to share that those values with people that are not in the CRM for whatever reason, you can still do that. We got a lot of feedback that people were like, "This is nice, but I just kind of want to be able to look at it whenever I want."
Right now.
Right now. It's my data, and I need it now.
That's a deep cut. I love that, Greg. So great job to you and the team on this one. Again, there's a little button here if you do happen to install this to provide feedback and request future updates. Do use that. We're going to look at all those. We really want this to be a valuable tool that just ideally helps you keep stuff clean, especially in the world where like a lot of the orgs we see that are using this and are really happy with it are ones where salespeople have the authority to go out and find and create leads, right? And like you as an organization, you don't want them creating duplicates or missing data, but you don't always want to make everything required. It might be like, hey, you have these fields missing, go fill them in. I'm not trying to delete your stuff, but like, you got to get this stuff trued up. So it can be really useful just to make sure that the stuff that's in your CRM is clean and accurate and useful and non-duplicated. Right. The last thing you want is like, oh, we got 100 leads last month. If you're not aware that 20 of them are duplicates, you actually got 80, right? Like things aren't as good as you might have thought. So you want to make sure that everything that's in CRM is real and accurate and unique. And this should help you do that.
And actionable.
Actionable.
You got 50 leads with no email or phone number. You just have a name.
Yeah.
Congrats.
If you just have the name John Smith in there as a lead, you don't have a lead. You have a John Smith, and that is not quite a lead. Really good build out here, Greg. And again, we would love feedback. Let us know what you want to see on this thing. Now that we kind of have it set up like this, making those types of changes and additions can come quickly. So just let us know. We'd love to hear from you. As always, I got to do it over on youtube.com/Zenatta. This is where we keep all the videos, the podcasts, the tips, the webinars, the comparison videos. We got another one of those coming out soon on the marketing side of the house. So head on over here and click subscribe if you'd like to. I do have to say, what's that? 28.1 thousand. Another angel gets their wings. Is this the first Brett-free angel that we've had? I feel for him. He's missing an angel.
He missed it by that much.
I know. He was so close last week. I think we were at 27.9 when we recorded. So, shout out to all of you guys. We really appreciate the support over here We love making these videos, and we really do just hope that you find them useful. We're going to keep doing it either way, though, so keep an eye on the channel for more and more content. With that, I think we're ready for our question of the week. So roll that Azaz Stinger Ferretti. Oh, I missed it last week. All right. This is a question over from YouTube. I recorded a tutorial a little while back on using quotes inside of Zoho CRM. Did include actually a little bit of code in there for, I think, summing up some values or doing some fun stuff. So Gubby's all-time great username asks, so when quoting, we need to see the cost price and the sales price, then the contribution margin and the coverage as a percentage. We'll need to be able to view those as we are creating the quote. Not sure how we can achieve this. Been browsing a bit and seeing that other users are quite disappointed. What is a good way to do this? So one of the things, and I'll tee it over to you here in a sec, Greg, but it is one of those things with Zoho where it does have a lot of the functionality you need, but you might have to configure it or build it, right? Where like there are quoting tools that you buy off the shelf, especially ones that are like designed for a certain industry. Like I'm looking at you, AccuLinks for roofers, where there's just so much really specific stuff that people do in that industry that like they just pre-build it for you, right? Like, I mean, AccuLinks, it'll price on the angle of the roof and the weather and, you know, all these different things. But Gubbies, with Zoho, we always like to think about it like a platform. It's a product, but it's kind of a platform and you got to configure it. So Greg, we did have some ideas here, maybe using some client scripts to accomplish this.
Yeah, a mixture probably of client scripts and, just adding some formula fields. Because, so cost price and so sales price, that's easy to get in there. That's already already one. Cost price, you might need to write, like a client script that when you populate a line item on your quote, that it's going to look up to that like product record and pull that product record in now. Although I think, shouldn't you be able to pull that in isn't there a option for pulling in lookup field?
Lookup. Yeah, field of lookup. I think you can add that in the quote subform.
Pretty sure you can add that in the quote subform. So getting the sales and cost price in there, that should be good. Then you'll need to create a formula field that just takes that price and cost, get the difference, and then I'm not sure. So with the coverage, and I'm not quite as business savvy as you, Tyler. You had more of a knowledge of like what coverage was, but from what I could tell, would coverage be something that you would add more on a line item level or something more on the quote level?
Generally as a line item. So yeah, it's like related to your margin, and I have seen it used differently in different places. Like in some places it's like the markup. In some it can be like a percentage version of your margin, right? So like I'm selling this for 30, I paid 20, my margin's 10, my coverage is 33%. But oftentimes the goal with like contribution margin is to get a little bit more granular, where like you might have like, I buy the item from a vendor for $20, but I know it's going to cost me $7 of labor to install it. So my cost is actually $27. So like in some of those cases, Gubbies, like you might be able to do formula fields. You might need a little script depending on how complicated your math gets with contribution margin and like how you would like to set it up. But yeah, this is definitely doable. It's just going to take some configuration and either formula fields or some type of script. I would recommend, if you go the route of writing script, to use a client script. Main reason is that you really want this stuff updating right as you're typing into these fields. Where like a workflow in Deluge would be like, I type everything in, I click save, I refresh, boom, there's all my stuff. Like a client script, downside is you have to write it in JavaScript, and I don't like writing in JavaScript, so I assume no one does. But the upside is it will happen immediately, which is a nice benefit.
And the other upside is that if you're not very functionally inclined, that sounds like a huge insult. If you're not into writing code, Chat, as we talked about earlier in the show, ChatGPT really good at JavaScript.
True.
So
Very
if
true.
if you're
Yeah, I
trying,
mean, you
if you're
could just
trying
give
to
it some
zero,
API and module names, and like it's gonna get you there probably.
yeah, you're actually going to have
Um,
probably a better time with the JavaScript if you're getting AI to help write it for you.
That is true. You're not functionally inclined. I'm gonna back pocket that one and use it in the future. Um, all right. Thanks as always for joining, Greg. We're gonna see who's on the show next week because I'm gonna be out of town and Brett might also be out of town. So one of us is gonna remote in and do it, I think, for the following week. So we're gonna see.
Cool.
It's gonna be a wild ride, and we'll figure it out as we go, just like we always do. So with that, I think we're ready to wrap up here for today. As always, if you want to get in touch with any of us over here at Zenatta, just head on over to zenatta.com and click on book a meeting. While you're there, you can check out full episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today.
And if you want access to the code share that we talked about today, as well as all of our previous code shares, head over to club.zenatta.com to keep up to date on the latest and greatest that Zoho and Zenatta has to offer. And if you want your team trained up in the core Zoho apps in 7 or fewer days, head over to zenatta.com/training to sign up for one of our team training courses.
And as always, we appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We will see you next Friday.
The CRM Zen Show was produced by Podcaster Zen.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but Tyler actually has a little kind of one of those dog shock collars, and every time we get a new subscriber to the YouTube channel, he gets a little buzz on his ankle.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't feel good, but I still like the subscribers anyways, so it's worth it.
Right.
I'll do that for you guys.